All right. Welcome into another episode of the Big Blue News Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Beesmore, and I'm joined today by the best punter from Australia and former UK punter, Max Duffy. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Football's back, so it's awesome. Just chucked the football on the TV, actually, Nebraska over in Ireland, which is interesting. And I see, like we were talking about before, your Western Kentucky Hilltoppers are down at the moment. So it's good that football's back.
Yes, I'm happy football is back. I'm a little sad Western's down. I went to Western. So I brought you onto the podcast to talk about the first game of the year, to preview it, and then also talk about your life before UK and what you're doing currently. So before you arrived at UK, I heard you were more interested in basketball before you finally got into football. Is that true?
That is true. I played basketball my whole life growing up. I actually played for my state. So in Australia, we play for our home state. If we're good enough, we play all the other states. So there's obviously only 8 in Australia compared with 50. A 50 state tournament would be a bit interesting over here, but there's only 8 states back in Australia. So all the states play against each other in really competitive basketball. So I made that. Actually was a little bit disappointed I didn't make the Australian team, to be honest, and thought basketball was going to be my career
Uh-huh.
till I had some realizations that I'm only 6'1" and can't dunk and can't really jump at all. So didn't realize how good the athletes were over here. I actually wanted to play college basketball. I looked into college basketball before football. And then, realized I probably wasn't going to quite cut it at Kentucky, unfortunately. And then, moved on to football after that.
I was reading that you were working as a tree lopper while playing for East Fremantle in the West Australian Football League. Is that true? And how?
That is true. I used to cut trees down to make some money in between. I played professional football coming out of high school, Australian professional football, and then had to make ends meet after I finished that. I didn't want to just spend all my money from that. So started cutting trees down with someone that I knew really well. And interesting occupation. Definitely taught me that I never want to cut trees down again in my life. Taught me that I probably want to keep working in sports as long as I can. So I learned a lot of lessons out of it. I actually loved working outside, but definitely don't want to go back to that anytime soon. That's for sure.
I understand completely. So you were drafted 39th in the Australian Football League. How was it like playing in that league?
It was great. Learned a lot of lessons. Definitely, that's the biggest sport back home in Australia. So for me, it was a dream come true to get drafted, to be able to play some games and, kind of pay back everyone that had put time and effort into me, driving me to practices, driving me to games, all those kind of things. So it was awesome, and lived the high life for a few years, and got to play in some really good sport and competitive sport, which I love. And just to kind of live out my dream, that was awesome. But unfortunately, it was short lived, and I had to try and find something else, which I ended up finding, obviously, American football, which was great. But I learned a lot of lessons out of Australian football. We don't wear pads or helmets or anything like that, so the body's a bit banged up from those years, but definitely enjoyed every moment.
And you finally made your debut with Fremantle football after you suffered some injuries. How was that?
It was great. It was awesome. Yeah, like I said, just to be able to pay back everyone that had put time and effort into me was awesome. I got to fly basically my whole family over to be able to watch me play my first game, which was a special moment for me and my family. My mum was actually climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in, I think it's Tanzania. So she didn't even know I was doing it because they didn't have any cell reception. So that was a little bit interesting. You normally always see the family there for the first game or something, and mum had no idea. I think she found out about 5 days later. So that was pretty funny. But had a great time. I got to play in front of all my friends and family, and we unfortunately lost in Australian football. It's quite high scoring, but we had a kick after the siren. So it was kind of like a last second field goal, I guess I would equivalent it to win the game, and we missed it. So not the greatest start, but it was cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and that must have been disappointing to lose, your very first game. Um, my next question is, I heard you were delisted at the conclusion of 2015. How hard was that for you?
It was very hard. Feel like I let a lot of people down. Feel like you kind of play for yourself, but you play for all the people, like I said, that put time into you. So it was very disappointing. That was my dream growing up, and it was short lived. Still got to live it out. I feel very thankful that I got to, but Definitely didn't achieve all I wanted to, and kind of left that little bit of like undesired feeling in my stomach, to be honest. But it is what it is. You learn lots of lessons. Life's not all positive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of setbacks. So I definitely learned a lot, and it definitely made me a better person. You learn little things along the way. You learn more from your setbacks than you do from your positives. So it gave me in the long run, it gave me the opportunity to be able to come over here, and I've loved that. So the Tom Brady Chinese farmer. From Men in the Arena, you think something's bad and it actually turns into a positive. So it's awesome.
Well, you joined West Perth in 2016, but prior to the 2017 season, you announced your retirement from Australian to train to become an American football punter. What led to that decision?
A lot of things. I kind of didn't really enjoy football as much anymore. I was pretty beat up. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had a broken nose. I've almost had every injury on the sun. Tore both hamstrings, tore both calves, tore stomach muscles, arm muscles. I've had multiple concussions. The body was about ready to give up on me. So I thought I'd do a little bit less contact sport in being a punter. American football definitely hits hard, but the punter thankfully doesn't get hit. So, well, if they do their job right. So needed to move on and try and find something else. And one of my friends played, one of his best friends played college at Ole Miss. He punted at Ole Miss. And he told me about that. And I said, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'd heard about that in the blind side. I'd heard about that school. So I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. Thankfully, I did. And then everything kind of slowly worked out into me ending up at Kentucky.
And then during your recruitment process, who was recruiting you and what made you decide to commit to UK?
To be honest, coming out of Australia, what we do is we sign up with a company that handles all the recruiting stuff for us. We actually really don't choose a team, to be honest. They kind of choose it for us. We just basically say, if we sign up, you'll get us a school. And they were able to do that. To be perfectly honest, I thought I was going to Alabama for a little bit. I sat in Nick Saban's office and talked to him and did a great job at their camp, and thought he was going to offer me. He didn't. I'd like to think I kind of won that battle because the guy that they signed in the end didn't end up any good for them. So maybe he should have offered me, but again, worked out well, ending up at Kentucky. And I couldn't honestly have asked for a better place. I'm going to be honest, when they first told me I was going to Kentucky, I had no idea what it was, where it was, what color they were, what their mascot was. I had no idea, but I was actually kind of thinking Kentucky. I mean, I know fried chicken. I know they've got a bit of bourbon. That's about all I knew. So I was kind of unsure what it was going to be like. And I came over here. It was absolutely unbelievable. And I loved every minute. And I honestly, I mean, now knowing what I know, I don't think there would be a better fit for me.
And I'm glad you went to UK. Like I said, big UK fan, close to the Lexington area. And I think it worked out for, UKU and everybody else. What was the biggest difference between living in Australia and the United States?
I think probably, it's the same language, but there's definitely different ways that people phrase things and structure their sentences. That took me a while to figure out. Honestly, when I talk to my friends and family back home in Australia now, sometimes they ask me what I'm saying because I've changed the way that I structure my sentences and talk. So that was a little bit tough to begin with. I would say just being, it's not a difference, obviously, but just being away from home, that was big for me. I saw my sisters actually, luckily last week, but before that, I hadn't seen them in almost 3 years. So just being away from home with COVID and everything like that's been tough, but I love it over here. There's so many differences, but so many great things as well. And definitely miss home, but don't want to be anywhere else except Lexington.
Well, I'm glad you're in the United States. I know you probably do miss home, like you were saying. You were 26 when you joined the team. What was it like being the oldest member on the team?
I was 24. Thank you very much. I wasn't 26.
My bad.
No, you're fine. Just want to make sure I sneak in those extra 2 years. It was honestly, it didn't feel as different as it should because thankfully in my first year, Tristan Yeomans was my long snapper. He was 23. Miles Butler was the kicker. He was 23. Grant McInnes was 22. Blake Best was 22. All the guys were kind of thankfully on special teams were really old. And so I was only 1 or 2 years older than those guys. So for me, it didn't feel weird. And the next year it definitely did when they all left and I was with all the 18-year-olds. Then it was definitely strange. But the first year it just felt like I was part of the team and it was awesome integrating with all those guys. And those guys were great to me. I couldn't have, like, honestly, I may not have enjoyed it as much if it wasn't for all those guys being there at the right time. So that was awesome. Definitely felt a little bit out of place when I was 26 with the 18-year-olds, trying to have something in common sometimes. But I'm a kid at heart as well. So I definitely fit in with the immaturity.
For sure. You were a part of a historical team in 2018, but what was your favorite moment while being a Cat?
I think the Citrus Bowl definitely was. I know we broke the streak at Florida, but to be honest, that was very early into my career and I probably didn't have a good grasp of it. I would say I've probably I love the game at Texas A&M. That was when I really started feeling like college football is pretty cool. In front of about 102,000. We lost, but it was just an awesome thing to be a part of. I would say my final game against NC State, that was pretty special to win that one. I thought I played pretty well and we won that one. It was pretty cool. I faked the guy out and he ended up on the floor. So that was definitely fun. Been wanting to do that for a while. But I would say the best moment for me in football is when you jump on the bus from the hotel and you head to the game. You drive through all the fans, you see all the fans, and then you don't know what's about to happen, whether you're going to win, lose, or there's no draws. I was going to say win, lose, or draw, but you don't know if you're going to win or lose. You jump on the bus and you just get that great feeling of what's to come. And that's the moment for me that's the most special.
And I actually had a question about the NC State game, but you already answered it. I'm going to now talk about the Missouri game. What were you thinking whenever you ran for the first down during the punt that you had? I was actually at that game for once.
Well, I'm sorry because you would have got poured on with rain. It was raining the whole time.
I was at the game, actually. I actually made it to that game.
How did you go with the rain? It was pouring down.
It was pouring down, but hey, I enjoyed it.
Lynn Bowden coming out game, basically. He absolutely destroyed them that night. Honestly, I was thinking it's about time. I'd been thinking about it for a while. I was trying to grasp the rule, even though I was in my second year, still trying to grasp the rules, what to do, what not to do. And I thought a few times I probably should have ran, and I wasn't sure if that would be the right thing to do. And if I messed it up, what would the coaches say? So eventually against Missouri, the time was right. They showed us a look a couple of times that I knew I could run on. And Mark Stoops had given me the green light, go for it if you want to do it. Saw it, went for it, worked out. My one wish is I had stayed in bounds and actually tried to make a few people miss, because I had to cop criticism for the next 3 or 4 weeks about running out of bounds. I mean, I know that's probably the smart thing to do, but I wish I had stayed in bounds and just taken a hit or something, because especially the O-line guys didn't let me live that down for just running out of bounds before I got tackled.
Yeah, that game was insane. Like you said, it was Lynn Bowden Jr.'s coming out game for the most part. Really enjoyed it, minus the rain. But in 2019, you also won the Ray Guy Award. How did that feel for you to win it?
It was great. Again, to pay back all the people that have put a lot of time and effort into me, and to kind of make it worthwhile for coming over here. I actually got it right here on the table, which is pretty funny. It just sits on the kitchen table. It doesn't really have a spot anywhere. So I need to find a trophy cabinet for it eventually. But it was awesome. My dad and my brother flew over and got to come to the awards night. You feel a little bit out of place winning an award as a punter when you're around some of the Heisman guys. I know Joe Burrow was there that night, things like that. You feel like you're probably not deserving to sit around those kind of guys, but it was awesome. I loved it. And to be able to contribute to the team and just, have a moment in history that I now can't ever lose. Like, I'll always be a Ray Guy Award winner. That's pretty special to me.
And I'm glad you won it. And I hope everything worked out for you, with your time at UK.
It did, but unfortunately, I couldn't crack the top 10. They did the top 10 KSR footballers of Mark Stoops' era, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get a spot in there. So, maybe no one else thought I deserved it. I'm not sure.
Now let's talk a little bit about 2020. Right before the season began, it was COVID-19. How did that affect the team, you think?
I'm not sure it affected the team as much. It definitely, I mean, I can only talk from a personal stance. I felt a little bit less motivated to play. I unfortunately, as much as I love football, the most fun part is playing in front of the fans and hearing, 40,000, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 fans screaming. That's the fun part, otherwise you just go down the park and play in front of no one. So for me, I felt a little bit less motivated. I know some guys on the team definitely did. We obviously went down to Auburn in the first game, and it just was it was a weird season to be a part of, with, half full arenas or quarter full arenas. But we persevered. We won 4 games in the bowl game. It was still fun, and I appreciate every moment of the opportunity to play. But honestly, for me, I wish I maybe had played one more year or finished in 2019, because that season really didn't do football justice.
Yeah, I completely agree. It wasn't the best year. COVID, less fans, people having to wear face masks. It wasn't the best, but UK persevered, like you all said, or like you said, they won a bowl game, the Gator Bowl against NC State. I'm done now asking about your football career. Let's talk a little bit about what you are doing currently now.
Yeah, so obviously free agent, football wise, hoping to get a spot in the XFL or the USFL again. Played USFL last year for the Pittsburgh Maulers, which is a great franchise. We unfortunately went 1-9. We didn't win too many games, but the greatest part about it was we couldn't score on offense, so we started running all these trick plays on special teams, which was so fun. Through for my first down. We did the fake field goal where I flipped it over my head. We got a touchdown from it. We did a lot of hard count field goals, which I honestly enjoy so much. I feel like Aaron Rodgers out there getting the defense to jump offside. I think I was 3 from 3 in the USFL for making them jump on field goals. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, just trying to still plug away at my football. Hopefully at some stage I'll get an opportunity. I think I deserve it. I think I've done, I've got the numbers, and I've always proven myself. For whatever reason, I haven't been able to get that opportunity, but I'll keep plugging away. And then doing a podcast and on the radio semi-regularly with KSR. So that's always fun. If I can't play, I may as well talk about it. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Pin It Deep, correct?
Yeah, Pin It Deep is great. Pin It Deep podcast. Make sure you check it out to people that are listening. It's a lot of fun. Me and Miles Butler, former kicker, we take football a little bit less seriously, I guess, than most, and we just have a lot of fun with it. I know I stir some people up on Twitter. They don't quite get the sarcasm sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I'm very sarcastic as well, but I can easily catch on to your sarcasm. But a lot of people were hitting on you on Twitter recently. But before we get into all that, let's talk about this week's matchup coming up with UK versus Miami, Ohio. What do you think the outcome of the game will be, and who do you also think will have a big game?
I think we'll win for sure. I think we're a great football team. I'm probably not as optimistic as most. I put out on my podcast. Unfortunately, Vegas has us at 7.5 for the over/under. They're not very normally wrong, and everyone's pretty positive, thinking we'll win 10 or 11, 9 games. For me, there's just a lot of unanswered questions this year, and I don't want to be that guy, because I want us to win 12 games. But I mean, Vegas has got big buildings for a reason. 7.5 is about where I see us at. So I'd love to see us win some more games, but I just think that's where we're at. I think we'll smash Miami of Ohio. I think Will Levis will have a great game, just like last year in our first game when we threw it all over the field on, I can't remember what team it was, but he threw for 4 or 5 long touchdowns to Josh Ali and Wandale. I think we'll beat Miami of Ohio pretty comfortably. I just think when it comes down to it in some of the big games this season, our O&D line just aren't going to be good enough. And I think we've got a lot of question marks there. So we'll see what happens. I want to be positive. I hope we do win 12 games, because Lexington would probably burn itself to the ground. And that would be cool to see. But yeah, really think Will Levis has kind of got it all on him this year. We win 9-10 games. He should be the Heisman winner for me, because he's got all these young freshmen coming in. Obviously, Tavion Robinson will be great, but a lot of young guys to throw to, and he's got a lot on his shoulders this year.
I'm not really nervous on the defensive side. It's more on the offensive side, because, like I said, I don't know how long Chris Rodriguez will be out, because that's still a question mark. It could be 3 or 4 games, and then, like you were saying, young wide receivers. So it'll be very interesting to see what will happen on the offensive side.
No doubt. No, I'm with you. And I think, we've been blessed in the last few years with just having a great O-line. And I think this is the first year where we haven't got any bona fide stars on there. You know, we had Logan, we had Bunchy Stallings, we had Drake Jackson, we had Luke Fortner, we had Darian Kennard. We've always had some stars on there, and then we plugged one or two holes. But this year's the first time where you really can't say any of them. Now, I know a few of them won some preseason accolades, but you really can't say any of them are guaranteed draft picks. And I think to win and to be competitive in SEC football, you've got to have some studs up front. You've got to be bigger than other people. And, you know, hopefully we find another couple Luke Fortners this year, but that is definitely the question mark for me.
Yeah, for sure. But the best thing about, you know, the underclassmen is they'll become sophomores, eventually juniors, you know, upperclassmen. Yeah. So I think UK for sure will be pretty great, you know, in another 2 years once we get the freshmen, you know, to become.
There's no doubt. And we've recruited at such a high level that I'm looking forward to what will be in a couple of years. I'm just hoping we can cash in on the Will Levis, because it's not every day you find a quarterback like that. He's still got a lot of things to prove, but it's not every day you find a guy that can throw the ball like him. So I really hope we do cash in this year with a start at quarterback.
For sure. I agree with you on that. I think UK will probably get 9 wins, in my opinion. I think they'll probably lose to Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia. Those are my 3 games. That
I hope we don't lose to Tennessee. I hate that franchise. So I really hope we don't. We could win 1 game this year, and if we beat Tennessee, I'd be more than happy than winning 11 and losing 1 to them, honestly.
Well, I don't want to win only 1 game, and that would be only Tennessee. But yeah, I'm hoping we can beat Tennessee, but it'll be tough in Neyland Stadium. I know we won in 2020 during the COVID year, but it'll be definitely interesting this coming up year. Maybe Will Levis, UK, will get some revenge, though, hopefully against Tennessee. Now let's talk about the headlines you've been making recently. So, do you think UK is a football or a basketball school?
Definitely a football school. Definitely a football school. No, I love poking at people sometimes. Look, clearly it's a basketball school historically. We're definitely building the football program. I think what Mark Stoops did was exactly what you have to do. You have to come out, defend your players, never take a step back. If he takes a step back, he gives the permission for everyone in the organization to take a step back. And that's not what football's about. So came out, defended the players. I know the players weren't happy about it. We want to be a football school. We want to make sure we're winning games. We want to be an everything school. I mean, our female track team is unbelievable. Our volleyball team's unbelievable. The women's basketball won the SEC tournament last year. Our rifle, I know, is nationwide. Our cheer team is unbelievable. So we're an everything school, but definitely football brings in the most fans. So we're definitely a football school first and foremost, if you ask me.
For sure. Like you said, Kentucky is an everything school. They've been doing great recently with volleyball, rifle, you name it, swim. So basketball, football as well. So I think UK, like you said, is an everything school. Do you think you deserve to be on KSR's top 10 list, though?
No, absolutely not. But I would have liked to be. I actually voted for it, so I didn't put myself in. So no, I don't think I should be. I only punt the football, but I definitely think Austin McGuinness deserved to be in there. I know some people said a kicker can't be in. He led our school in scoring. He's all-time scoring leader. He probably kept Mark Stoops in a job by making the field goal against Mississippi State. So Stoops probably owes him about 5% of every contract he gets from now on. And so he deserves to be in there. Josh Allen, definitely number 1 by so far. It's not even close. And then probably Lynn. But no, I don't deserve to be in there. But I do enjoy getting an honorable mention every now and then.
Is there a little rivalry between you and Nick Rush now?
There definitely is. Nick's probably the worst media reporter / journalist in the world. And he's bald too, and I'm not bald. So I've got plenty more hair than him and much more brain cells. So yeah, Nick, not my favorite person of all time. Me and him have a little bit of back and forth fun on Twitter, which is great. He actually helped me out when I first wanted to start doing the podcast, and he was awesome, just giving me little tips and advice and what to do. So he's been great, but we do have a little bit of back and forth. And he likes poking at me, so I'm happy to poke back.
Well, I'm glad you're interacting, you know, with the fans and then also with KSR members. Now, like you said, you have a podcast. Do you have anything else you would like to add to this interview?
No, just that I've loved my time here. Hopefully I can stay a little bit longer. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's Pin It Deep. It's on all platforms, at Pin It Deep KSR on Twitter. Give myself a follow on Twitter as well, Max _Duffy, I think it is. And listening to KSR. Hopefully I can make a few people laugh. That's all I try and do, not take myself too seriously. And I'm just looking forward to the football season. As much as I've been a bit of a pessimist so far, I really do hope we go 12-0, beat Alabama in the SEC, and then win the whole thing. So we'll see.
That would be great for sure. Thank you for your time on this podcast. I appreciate it. And hopefully, whenever I get done with this podcast, Western will be ahead or they have won their game already.
Well, hold on. Let me have a look real quick. Hold on. What are we at? Western is winning by 8. So there you go. It's the last quarter. So hopefully you will get that W.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. Thank you, Max Duffy. I appreciate it, though.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.